Welcome back to the new SEC podcast. We have a night game in Death Valley. Florida Gators are traveling to number 3 LSU. LSU favored by 7.5 points, and we're going to talk about it. I'm Hunter Ziesman, joined here with Randall Adet Jr. as always. Florida Gators, LSU Tigers. What are we thinking in this game?
Yeah, I mean, this game feels like it is do or die for Florida. That's what I'm thinking. And for LSU, it's an opportunity to continue to show why they deserve that number 3 ranking and show that it is very hard to go into Death Valley and come out with a win. What are you thinking in this game?
You know, it's kind of a tough spot for both teams, really. Like, Florida coming off of a tough loss. It's like you said, do or die. We have to win this game. Losing this one, even though they're not favored, would be, I don't want to say the nail in the coffin for Napier down there at Florida. But for LSU as well, you don't want to lose this game. You started getting momentum again. You finally find yourself in a season where you win your season opener. And now instead of playing from behind, you're in a little bit of the driver's seat. So you don't want to lose a game like this and set yourself back. So I don't want to say it's do or die for both teams. But if LSU wants to start their campaign, they need to win here. If Florida doesn't want to start going down a bad rabbit hole for the season, then they have to win here. Both teams have a lot of motivation.
Both teams have a ton of motivation. And I feel like last season starting off, that Billy Napier story where do you keep them, do you not, finally came to a pause after Florida was able to rip off, 5 or 6 straight games winning. What stood out to me for Florida when you looked at how they played against USF was just a lack of the ability for this offense to stay on the field. They had to punt 6 out of their 7 possessions in the second half. And that was very uncharacteristic of this Florida team compared to what we saw against Long Island and compared to what we saw last season in the back half of the year.
Absolutely. The offense would get into decent positions. They'd start drives okay. They were unable to finish them, settling for a lot of field goals. The special teams unit was on it because of how involved they had to be in the game. The offense wasn't clicking to who we thought they could be this year, especially behind DJ Lagway. Now, offense is not clicking as well as we thought they could be, really applies to both teams. LSU also offensively, we had expectations for them about who they could be, and it feels a little underwhelming after 2 games. Not to be negative on both teams, because I think that the potential is high for both. Both teams right now, I'd say, are underutilizing the run, maybe for the same reason O-line play, but both teams really underutilizing the run.
Yeah, and this could be a tougher game for Florida to really continue to get the run established, right? To this point, LSU this season is averaging giving up 44.5 yards per game on the ground. That sample size includes Louisiana Tech and it includes Clemson, a good Clemson team, a Clemson team with a new running back unit after Phil Maffa went to the NFL. But Jaden Boss so far this season's had a decent season, 197 rushing yards. Big opportunity for them to establish where they dominate on the trenches in this game. And on the flip side, a lot has been talked about for LSU's offensive line. Would they be able to lock in and reload for this year? And so far, it looks like they've been doing their job and they've been serviceable, which has allowed LSU to continue to win these last couple games.
Yeah, I mean, I would say offensively for LSU, I would still categorize the O-line as the weaker part of this team. Like, are they as bad as when I did the preview of what I thought they could be? No, I mean, Braylon Moore right now, unknown if he's going to be good to go. I've heard probable if he's practicing. So, the O-line could be okay for this game, but they let up 3 sacks to Louisiana Tech, 8 tackles for loss in that game. So like they're doing okay. Nussmeier's taking shots downfield. They're just not connecting. So
yeah,
this offense right now, it feels, we've talked about it at times, like not clicking yet. Like the click hasn't happened for this offense. It'll happen in a game, and I think they'll be set for the rest of the year when it does. But right now, when Nussmeier's forced to be a downfield thrower because the run's not working, it isn't necessarily spot on. It's a little spottier than I think we thought it would be behind a quarterback who was touted as one of the highest NFL-ready prospects into the season.
Yeah, 100%. And a reason for maybe the lack of clicking could potentially come from just really solidifying who is the top 3 to 4 receivers in this team. Like, does Brandon Brown deserve to be the 2? Is it Aaron Anderson? Is it Nick Anderson? Is it, maybe you move Xavier Thomas to the 4? There's so many weapons here, and I think they're still trying to figure out, like, who is the guy that's going to be ultimately paired well, effectively with Garrett Nussmeier. And I think what's interesting for this game is, I'm going to be interested to see what situations Nussmeier's going to be put in. There hasn't been a ton of situations where he's had to kind of play that comeback spot besides that Ole Miss game last year. And so I think it's going to be really important for this LSU defense to do what they did against Clemson, run these blitz packages, trip up DJ Lagway, get him off his game so Nussmeier can be comfortable holding a decent lead for LSU to have a chance to win this game. If it's a back and forth offensive battle, to be honest, we've only seen Lagway kind of struggle in one football game. And so, everyone's kind of blowing up with the internet right now, and they're very down on Florida. Lagway's played relatively good football for 7 games. He had one bad game. Statistically, he's probably going to bounce back. So if it's an offensive shootout, Florida could have the nudge here. But everyone's been talking about this Blake Baker defense. So that's going to be the big factor, I think, which impacts Nussmeier's ability to lead this offense in certain situations.
Sure, yeah. I would take the LSU defense right now as the best unit on the field. So if Florida could have a bounce back week, right now, like I said earlier, they had decent drives that just didn't result in 6.
Yeah.
Resulted in 3. That's, a first down or 2 away from putting yourself within the red zone or, first and goal. And then who knows what happens from there. They had a couple called back in that game for penalties too. They, right now, worse in the SEC, 22 yards per point, 108th nationally. I don't think that will last for Florida, but you can't go 2 weeks in a row of that. But LSU's defense could be the reason why that persists. We talked about Mansour Delane. We talked about these cornerbacks. We talked about how they can get to a quarterback. We've seen how they can get to a quarterback. So I like LSU's defense in this game to be the reason why they win. I'm bringing a lot of negativity to these two teams.
No. And then you also got jackpot.
Too high.
The expectations were really high, and I know I cut you off there, but the expectations are very high, right? Especially on the LSU side. I agree. This defensive unit is hands down the best unit on the field. You got Jack Pyburn, played for Florida last season. He knows this offensive line. He knows this offensive scheme. I don't think we've been talking enough about A.J. Halsey at the safety position, what he's brought to LSU's defense just from a mean streak, a survey in the field. Mansour Delane's been talked about as well. So I'm right there with you, and I think offensively for Florida, it is going to come down to, you mentioned, being able to establish the run. So these safeties and these DBs are not just able to kind of hawk in on where Lagway's trying to go with Vernell Brown or where he's trying to go with Michael Sturdivant in this game.
Yeah, the DBs for LSU, key part in this game. This game's going to come down to the defensive sides. I'm taking LSU in this one. I like them to bounce back offensively, try to establish the run. Now, if I'm Florida, stack the box, 6 guys, force them to throw, force them to have to play long distance ball, which hasn't worked that well for them at this point this year. I do think LSU clicks, comes back in a night game at home, shows that last week was a fluke, and I ultimately like LSU.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this game, storylines, you look at it and you're like, hold on, they're playing in Baton Rouge. Gary Nussmeier's top 5 right now for most people for the Heisman. This is supposed to be his show out party. This is one of the top games of the week. Offense hasn't looked as good as it's expected to look these past 2 weeks, and they struggled against a Louisiana Tech team that's probably going to be nowhere near competing in the Conference USA or Sun Belt. There's something about Lagway. There's something about this Florida team. They're resilient. They've proved to be resilient. I think if it stays under 28 points needed for a team to win this game, I'm taking Florida. So I'm going to say Florida 24-21 in the Swamp. I think Napier has another sign of life. It's like that girl, you think you're ready to cut her off, and you know what? She does something good for you, and you say, I'll keep you around for another week. He figures it out. Florida wins 24-21.
All right. I like the 24 number. I like it for LSU. I have LSU 24-9. I think Florida continues the field goal train. I like LSU to roll them a little bit in this one. Now, I will say, combined on the season, these teams are 4-0 on the under. I do like the under to continue as well. Defensive powerhouse in what LSU can bring this year. So I'm going to take them to continue that train. I'll take LSU in this night game, propelling their run in the SEC.
I like it. So we want to know what y'all think here. Are you taking LSU to continue their run as the best team in the SEC according to the rankings, or are you taking Florida to have a bounce back game to win 2 years straight against LSU and to propel themselves back into the national conversation and potentially back in the rankings? Drop your predictions below. And once again, we always appreciate everyone here who tunes in. I'm Randall Dett Jr., Hunter Ziesman. Go ahead and like, follow, subscribe, and until next time.